I see some message. Varshita, please share the recording links in the WhatsApp groups. Sure, I'll do that, Varshita. Meanwhile, carry on.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mahesh.
Thank you, everyone, for joining this third session in this series. We welcome you all. Let me share my screen and we'll get started. Okay. Can someone confirm if you can see the screen?
Yes, yes, we can.
Okay, so as Rohit mentioned, this is the third session in the series, and we want to keep it as interactive as possible. That means in between we have some questions, and what we expect from you is that you share your thoughts on those questions, on those lines. You can you chat, you can unmute yourself. Even for the same goes for the questions or queries if you have. Uh, let's not wait for the Q&A. Yes, we have a dedicated section at the end for a few minutes. We can take the Q&As, but let's not wait. And if you come across anything, just shoot, unmute or put it in the chat. Okay, so let's start with the first question with that. We heard about Agentic not very long back, and then it happened so that everyone was talking about agents. We started doing analysis, we started doing the POCs, and now most of us are in the building phase. And some of the agents may be have gone live. But did we take a stop to think about what will happen when these agents go live? How those are going to behave, what we are going to do? Please post what you think, what we need to be careful about, what we need to do when these agents will start going live in production environments. Let's see. Please post whatever you feel are the important aspects, pointers on this. I'll take a pause. We'll wait for the messages in the chat, just monitoring. Please post whatever you feel, don't shy away. No, nothing?
Oh.
Okay, we'll fine then. We'll come back to this question. So okay, something is wrong with this. It's not moving forward. Okay, I'm Mahesh. I'm from technical account management team here at UiPath since now 8 years. I have along with me Priyesh, who is also senior technical account manager at UiPath, and he will introduce when the time comes. I mean, when he will take over the session. With that, so as Rohit mentioned, this is the third session in the series. So we started this series from 4th of November when the first session was on building a value-driven agentic pipeline. We covered what are the major differences between RPA and agentic, how you can build your pipeline, how you will do the discovery, how assessment, and then what different phases you will go through to take your agentic to production and to scale. Then we had another session on 11th of November last week that was on the governance and deployment methodologies. It was about when you are developing an agent or agentic flow, what governance you will put in place. And once you start thinking about putting this in production, what all safeguards or guardrails you will put to make sure that the agent is behaving within your expected limits. We covered AI trust layer in that session. Now today's session is about what happens when agent go live. That means that's where we need to start thinking how what operational measures we are going to take. So we are going to cover the four pillars of agentic operations, the four standard pillars. Those goes with any project or any process be it RPA, Agentic, that when we talk about operations, these are the 4 pillars that once it goes live, yes, we need to make sure it's working as expected. If there are any issues, how we are going to fix them. That means we need to have the tools, the skills in place to troubleshoot the issues, to fix the issues. The second pillar is the monitoring, that we need to keep a tab to try to avoid the issues, proactively find out the issues and take actions on those. Then, okay, everything is we know how to troubleshoot, we know how to monitor. Next thing comes is there will be improvements over the time. The applications changes, the world changes. We keep our processes changes. So how we will improve our agentic flow in that case. And fourth pillar is we are all set how we will grow in this agentic journey. So we'll cover these 4 pillars in today's session. So let's start with the first one on support. I have another question. You all are have expertise in RPA. You have a solid team in place, and I know that the team is aware, having all the tools and skills to support RPA processes. If so, do we really need to talk about support for agentic? Is there any difference when we talk about support for RPA processes and when we consider or start thinking about agentic processes? So what do you think? What are those differences you see in the from support lens between RPA processes and agentic processes? Please share your thought on that. What do you think? What are those differences? Okay, I can see wrong outputs, issues with trajectories, hallucinations, less monitoring. Okay, anyone wants to share more thoughts? Great. So fine-tuning the model and context, yes, because we can train them as decision making, I think, bias, ethnicity. Okay, great. Those are all great points. So let's split those into challenges. What challenges do we see in agentic which are different than RPA? The first one is the agents behave autonomously, right? Uh, when we talk about RPA, the results are in binary, either success or failed. We know that either it will work or it will not work, but that's not the case with agents. The agents, even if those are successful, we are not sure if that's the real output we need. The agents do the reasoning part. We don't know the reasoning is right. The agent take some decisions. We need to make sure those decisions are right. So that's the first challenge, that this autonomous behavior doesn't make the outcome as binary. It's not success or failure. We have to be cautious. We need to learn about what type of response we are getting. Is it within the confidence limit or not? The second challenge is our support team is skilled enough or is highly trained, I would say, on supporting agentic processes. They know that if there is an exception or if the job has faulted, I'll go ahead and troubleshoot it. But there now with Agentic, we need to train this team on AI models. The team needs to understand what is AI first, what are AI models, how to configure the prompts, how to uh, how to make use of context, what type of context, where to upload this context, and they need to understand the orchestration logic also. So when we compare it with RPA, yes, we do see that the support team has a skill gap. The next challenge is we do make use of human in loop with RPA. Great, that's a great feature. But what we with agentic we need to be careful about is that we can put a condition that confidence score, the threshold, if it is below some threshold, in that case, send it to human for review. Yes, that's one of the great features. But we need to what we need to monitor with that is it should not be the case that agent is sending too many requests to human. So we are spending effort and money in putting agents in place, and then these agents are for hallucinations or for various reasons. Instead of performing the task or having that confidence, they are sending too many requests to human. So we need to that factor also we need to consider. The last one is support boundaries are not that clear. So it's difficult to find out uh, if it's a really a bug in the model, or the if the model has seen a drift, or there are some issues with the integration failure and the agent is responding differently. So those boundaries are not so clear with agentic. So these are the four challenges on a high level with the when we compare supporting RPA with supporting the agentic. So support needs enhanced tools, upgraded skills, and better guardrails in place. Let's talk about what are the best practices from support lens. So we will put it into three layered structure. The first layer is foundational practices. Uh, that goes with any of the project we talk about, be it RPA or any project in the software industry. Standard or foundational, like we need to have proper documentation in place, run books. So with agentic, we understand we don't have much of the run books in as of today, but uh, when the developers start building the agents, they can from day one itself, they can start putting their whatever they are testing, they can start putting those as runbooks that I tested this agent with this prompt, it responded like that. And they can start, okay, if this is happening, what support should do. So they should start building those runbooks, and as a handover process, they should hand these runbooks also to the support. And then it becomes support's responsibility to make sure that they keep on updating these runbooks. The next one is uh, the, the developer should put a confidence threshold. If the agent response is below that threshold, then it should auto escalate to human. Then next one, what practice needs to follow is we should have proper logging in place, so that with the help of that logs, we can identify why agent took that particular path. We do follow these, we do follow all these practices even in the RPA. So that's why those are foundational practices. The next one is operational maturity. So start asking questions with the support team. What if the agent behaves like this? What if the confidence score is low? What if it takes this route? How you are going to deal with that? And with that, when it comes to in practical, update the playbooks with the real life scenarios. Put proper SLA and complexity. So we have SLAs for RPAs, but what we need to understand is agents are going to be, the complexities are going to be different. So put different SLAs based on the levels L1, L2, L3, based on the complexities, low, medium, high. Depending on that, define your SLAs properly. Then comes you need to have proper version control in place. It's possible that someone is making changes to the prompt, someone is changing the model, so you need to have those version controls in place. The deployment team needs to be careful when they are deploying. They need to verify everything properly before doing the deployment. The third pillar is support team enablement. Very essential, I would say. The best thing is if we can have a rotation, someone from support team sits with the engineering team, understand what they are building, about what they are expecting from this agent to do. end-to-end of what the engineering team thinks and how they are developing. And we can have this on the rotation basis from the support team. One or two support members sits with the team and understand how they are developing and working. Second, on this one, the support team can start having the knowledge base. So you build your knowledge base and share it among the new hires, among yourselves. In fact, get updates or get data from take data from engineering team also. Keep your knowledge base updated. Mm, Third one in enabling your support team is that the team should be skilled enough that from the logs or from the response of the agent, you should be able to understand why an agent is taking particular decision, why it is giving that type of response. So that level of skills required for agentic support. Okay, with that, let's talk about when we say we are supporting, so what type of risks we see from support team perspective. So, and what are the mitigation steps? So first is as we were talking earlier also, the agents can take some decisions uh, which are not too incorrect. So it's there's just small incorrection in that one, small drift in that. So how we will mitigate in that case? So in that case, we should depend on the confidence threshold, the anomalies detected. We can perform human audits from time to time. Likewise, the when agents talk to LLMs, we as a support team and RPA support team, we are confident on the errors, or we have seen those errors over the time, and we know if error is like this, then what we need to do. But with agents, the errors are going to be very weird. It can be any type of error. So and those errors can overwhelm the team. So in that scenarios, the team needs to stick to the basics like follow the knowledge base, maintain it and follow it. Run simulations. The earlier point we were talking about, ask those if else if what if questions from the team. And this cross training with the AI engineers will also help in those scenarios, because when they sit with the team, when engineers are building and running it in the dev environment, they will get these type of errors, and the support team will get used to of these errors. Now, another major risk is that model and prompt changes. A new model comes every now and then for these models. A new version comes. Someone changes the model. Someone changes the prompt. So in those scenarios, this is uh, this is completely on the deployment and dev team, that they make sure they are following proper versioning. When they before deploying, they are following A to B testing. That means they are comparing the new version thoroughly with older version, and they make sure that there are no additional changes being pushed. They do give a proper handout to the support team that we have changed the prompt. After changing the prompt, this is what we are expecting this agent to do. So these are the risks and high level, let's say, mitigation steps I mean, the team can follow. With that, let's move to the next pillar, monitoring.
Mahesh, before we
Sorry.
move into monitoring, anyone has any kind of a question, any suggestions, any thoughts that are striking your mind when it comes to providing a support to agentic solution? Feel free to unmute yourself, put your thoughts on the chat. Because these topics are really new in nature. When we talk about it, like the past was doing a POC, the present is like converting that POC into pilot, and now we are talking about the future of agentic automation, where we need to start providing support, monitoring, and other pillars as well that Mahesh has talked about. So feel free to ask questions, put your thoughts in the chat. You can share your thoughts by unmuting yourself as well. But let's keep this session as interactive as possible, right? Well, this is an
Please.
exploring topic at the moment, and we would like to hear your thoughts as well on it.
Okay, please keep posting if anything comes to your mind. And yep, we'll move on with the monitoring pillar. And that brings us again to a question that we already have monitoring in place with RPA. What else we need to think when we are thinking about putting our agents in production? What monitoring do you think the different type of monitoring we need to start considering with agentic? Please share your thoughts on that. Okay, Kavita has posted a question. How do we decide if a process can be automated as an AI agent? So that was covered in the first session, Kavita, in the value and assessment of an agentic process. So I would recommend if you can go through the recording of session 1. Thank you. Okay, please post your thoughts. What do you think? What extra monitoring you need to do with Agentic? Okay, let's move on. So first, let's talk about what is the ground reality when we think about taking these agents into production. Start with the RPA bots uh, gives us either success or failure. But when we talk about agents, they will give us semantic signals. Like they will give us the rational, they will give us the confidence score, decision paths, grounding alignment, and these type of parameters or output we will get from agents. Now, a bundle of all these parameters will help us understand why a agent has taken a particular path or why agent make particular decisions. So those are no, though there was no need to think or monitor these parameters with RPA, but with Agentic, we need to keep a tab on these parameters that it's not the confidence score is not dropping, the reasoning of the agent is proper. So we need to keep a tab on all those. That's we'd say an additional uh, monitoring point on as compared to RPA. The next one is when robot breaks or if it fails, in that case it throws an exception, and we have already put an alerts there that if it breaks, send out an email. But in case of agent can fail silently. It may respond confidently even after it fails, even if the results are not correct. So that's the challenge with agents, that we can't depend or wait for the failure emails, right? The failures or these behavior of showing success even when it fails can be because of various reasons, because of hallucination, misinterpretations, reasoning gaps, or it has deviated from the logic. So these are these are the additional challenges we need to be careful about. Then third one is the agent's behavior. The agents adapt to context, and their behavior do change over the time. So even if we give the same prompt, same input, the output can be different. Okay, I am not sure what to do with this one. Rohit, Mohammad Farooq is requesting to record to their computer. We will share the recording after this one. You can find it on community page, everyone. So yeah, we were talking about behavior shifts or behavior changes of the agent. So because of the different context, because it keeps on learning, the behavior of of the agent changes. So we need to monitor the drift. We need to monitor if it is showing bias results. or if there is a drop in the confidence. So these are the major challenges on top of what we are monitoring. We need to consider when we think about monitoring the agents. Let's talk about the best practices. The first one is we need to first define the KPIs, right? What we want to achieve or what we are going to monitor. We need to consider the KPIs which we are monitoring for traditional RPA. We will continue with those like throughput, exceptions, or runtimes. On top of that, we'll put agent specific matrices like confidence, decision quality, drift, override rates, and consistency. Next one, what is the best practice is having proper alerts in place. So we need to have alerts if the confidence drops, if there are disagreements on the decision part, if there is a spike in the human handovers. So we need to have those alerts in place. But because we are talking about so many parameters, it might happen that if we subscribe to all these alerts, we might get overwhelmed. So we might get so many alerts. So there we need to follow a tiered approach based on the threshold, that if the threshold is I mean, it's close to threshold, not covered. It's just a small drift. In that case, keep it uh, in the warning pillar and monitor that agent for some time. The support team should do that. Monitor this agent. If the drift is if of the medium range, it has let's say confidence was 9 and it has dropped to 7 or 6. In that case, investigate why that is happening. But if the confidence was 9 and it has come down to 3, 4, that's something we need to worry about. So escalate it, take an action immediately, and look for rollout if there was if that is because of the new versions. So we need to follow that approach. Next best practice is every team has their own requirements. One dashboard won't fit for everyone. So for different teams, build different dashboards. It's possible that ops team need dashboards which help them understand the runtime stability. The business may need dashboards related to value and accuracy, while AI team needs to understand the drifts and the reasoning paths or insights into those. So we need to build these dashboards for different teams, different types of dashboards, and those will help monitoring what the team is interested in. Next one is this is more mainly for the deployment team or the dev team. When any new changes comes in, make sure you perform proper testing. And once goes live, it becomes support team's responsibility to monitor that agent, uh, enable hypercare for a couple of weeks, ideally for 2 weeks, monitor the behavior of this agent when it hits the ground. Okay. Next one is again for the developers, but how it will the help the support team is on the logging. If the developers will put proper logging in place, that logging like RPA will help in agentic also. The support team, they can verify the different paths or different regions or decisions taken by the agent. Last one is perform regular audits. So let's initially not completely depend on or assume that everything is well. Take few samples every now and then. Verify uh, each and every parameter of this confidence decisions and all. Verify the behavior of the agent, and then if there are any feedbacks, any changes required, share that feedback with the team and make those changes and make sure that those best practices or mitigation steps are being followed with every agent. with that, we can, I mean, we will start with the third pillar, but before that, I just want to show you how monitoring tabs or monitoring dashboards, out of the box dashboards look like on UiPath Maestro. Give me 1 minute. I'll just hope you can see my Chrome browser screen. Please, can you confirm, please?
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay, so I am on the Maestro page. Ideally, if I go to home page, it looks like this. What we need to do is we need to go to process instances. It will show us all our Maestro processes. So as of now, let's say I can see 3 here. Shall I increase the font or this is fine, Prish?
Yeah, you can increase it. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll open this process. It will take a few seconds to load. On the top, if you see, it shows that I have run this instance or this process 5 times out of 1, which 1 time it failed, 4 time it completed successfully. Then I can zoom in this one, and I can see how my process, Maestro process looks like. This step was successful all 5 times. This process was successful 4 times, failed 1 times. I can see those minimum max, all those details from here. Down in the second window, I can see details about version, when it started, last updated, and all. Then there is another tab here about monitoring. This tab tells me, so if you see here, it shows the heat map. It shows this is the activity, or this is the step where it failed the most. So we can hide that and we can have a look at, I mean, we can enable or disable that. At the bottom or on these windows, we see different dashboards, incidents over time, completed instances. Then we can see total outliers by duration, how much time this agent is taking. If I have different steps, how much time those steps are taking, deviations, maximum max element durations, and all. So all those things, all those dashboards are pre-configured out of the box. We can subscribe to alerts from here. I can create alerts. I can click on that and I can create alert on what conditions and all those things. I can do that. So we can leverage these monitoring dashboards of Maestro. We can make use of these alert features from here, and we can do a proper monitoring of our agentic processes. I'll take
So
a pause here if there are any questions.
yeah, I just
Sorry,
want to add
please.
something on that. So it's the same, like, when we talk about RPA automations and process executions, right? We had a tab in Orchestrator where we go into the monitoring section and we'll see what is happening across the tenant, right? In terms of process executions, how many processes are running, how many have failed. So, we thought of bringing the similar kind of experience here when we talk about Maestro processes or agentic orchestrations, right? It will give you an end-to-end visibility of what is happening within that process and how many times the process runs. So, Mike, can you go back onto the instance management tab?
So
Yeah, and if you can come down over here and select the process again, the agentic process. Now here at the bottom, right, you'll see how many times the process has run, right? So if you want to particularly go and see what has happened in which process, so Mahesh, can you click on the faulted one, for example, right?
yeah,
So the moment you click, right, it will open up that instance also for you to monitor, like where exactly the process has failed. So it will show what is being executed within the Maestro workflow and where it really failed. And that is the reason, the process completely failed after that. Similarly, if you go back, Mahesh, and click on one of the successful ones.
sure. Before that, we can, if we click on that one, we can have a look at the error messages also, why it failed. So we have all the traces here, the execution trail. You can have a look. Well, you might have seen it when you're running, you run the process from Maestro. But this process was triggered from orchestrator. So assume a scenario of unattended process. So in that case, this is these type of monitoring you can perform. We are not in the Maestro as of today. We are looking at a process which is already completed. Yeah, Prish.
Yeah. So, that is one of the faulted ones, right? Let's take another one which is successful, right? So, when you click on one of the successful runs, right, it will tell you like what kind of a process path it has followed in Maestro, right? So, you can see from the start point till the end, right? And depending upon the scenarios that you have configured in your process. So, this is what the path it has followed. And if you go into the details of execution trail, right, it will tell you like how the execution has really worked into it. Now, especially when it comes to the supported monitoring part of it, right? Especially if support, if something fails, right, that's where support comes into picture, right? So, this kind of a monitoring include like, it can give you the real visibility of what is breaking,
Yep.
why it is breaking, and what, then you can think about what is the next set of actions that you need to bring into the system. Maybe you need to connect the prompt, maybe you need to connect, there is a new scenario, agent is hallucinating and it's breaking the flow. So that kind of a monitoring feature is currently available. Now, again, it's like the first instance of it. You might see additional features coming up in future, but this is how it looks at the moment. Any questions? Anyone who has looked into this before, feel free to unmute, post your queries onto chat if you have any questions.
So whatever you see when you're running it from the Maestro, you will see almost all the details here under execution trail. Like we can see the details about the model being run. What was the model name, max token settings, and how many, what is the usage in this particular call. So those details we can see. Now, how we will monitor or test support drifts, biases, and confidence. For that, we need to have additional logging in place. So when we develop our agents, we can put output parameter about confidence about these parameters. I'm not sure if I have any sample to show you, but I tested it that we can write let's say prompt like if the confidence score is below this, take these actions. So we can have these prompts within our agents, and the agents will consider those parameters.
Yeah. We have an interesting question on the chat from Nishit here, Mahesh.
Okay, let me have a look. Generally, we deploy package in traditional RPA automation production, which we need to monitor till confidence is reached. Sorry, from that day, the total savings and time effort gets count, which our leadership refers. But in case scenarios, if we deploy agent in production, which we need to monitor till confidence is reached, how we will calculate the time saving, money saving, how can we fill this gap? Very good question, Nishit. It's just, I would say, initially it seems like this is going to be an additional overhead, but if we put proper guardrails in place, if we put proper logging in place, support and monitoring is not going to be such a big task. Like we are comfortable supporting and monitoring the RPA processes, we are going to be same with agents. I agree. Initially, it's going to be a bit extra, depending, uh, extra over. I mean, extra cautious. We need to be to have. Sorry, we need to have extra cautious for agentic processes. But how we that we need to consider when we talk about the ROI. When we start calculating what ROI we are expecting, we need to call out these pointers with our management that initially for a week we will put this agent in kind of testing mode or in monitoring period, or a week or 2 weeks we'll keep it in hypercare mode, And once we get that confidence, we will, from that point onward, we'll start calculating the ROI. So you need to ask that window from the management that during this period, let's not take this or consider this time when we are calculating the ROI. Hope that makes sense.
I would like to add a couple of more
Yes,
things
please.
here, right? So, Nishit, to your point, right, one thing we need to ensure when we build a agentic process or solution, right, we are running enough evaluation sets onto it, like, the kind of data that we are planning to run, like the testing needs to be done before we really go ahead and put it in production, right? So that is one of the key things which can provide the confidence to the stakeholders or the leadership, like the agent really works. Now we do understand, like, we will not be able to test all the scenarios during the build phase or the testing phase, right? Now that's where you can always bring a human in the loop also into your pilot side of it. So whatever agent decides, you still have a human to validate. Now that will again bring some kind of a confidence, right? Okay, out of 10 times, agent is doing the job 8 times, and only 2 times it's failing, and that's where you circle back that feedback and say, okay, for these two scenarios, I think the agent needs to, we might need to correct the prompts into the agent, right? So that kind of a thing you can also, do when we talk about taking a, building an agentic solution, like during the build phase, you do a lot of evaluations. And then when it goes to pilot, you do human in the loop kind of a thing. That can really give confidence to the stakeholders, like, okay, it is doing the job.
Yep.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
Okay, I see a question from Kyra in the chat. 1 minute. How do we know how many agentic units consumed by the agent in execution? There are multiple ways, Kyra. I'll start, Priyesh, and then you can add. So one way is if you can make use of the license page, and there you will see the agent units being consumed in total. But if you want to see for particular process, you can come to this page, and wherever you see LLM call, that's where the agent units are being consumed. Yeah, Priyesh, you want to add something?
Yeah, no, I think that is right. Like, we have during the build phase, right? When we build the agent, we need to, see the execution trail for the agent. And that's how you can, estimate, like, maybe, at times you'll see for a scenario, the agent is making 3 LLM calls. Maybe for another scenario, it might be making 5 LLM calls. So, it's difficult to determine exact number of LLM calls, but, here, especially when it comes to estimating how many LLM calls are required by the agent, you need to go with a range over here, right? So say with a simple agent, it might take 3 to 5 calls, and that is how you'll say, like, the minimum of 3 calls and the maximum of 5 calls. Okay, another question that I can see over here, can you show how guardrails configure? Now it's a big topic, to be honest.
That was covered in previous session, in session number 2. You can go through the recording. So that was on guardrails and deployment methodologies.
Yeah. So maybe we'll ask Rohit to share the recordings again with this group, and then you can go through those sessions and can have a better understanding on guardrails.
Okay, with that, I will stop sharing and I will hand it over to Priyesh for remaining 2 pillars.
Thank you, Mahesh. Let me know if you're able to see my screen.
Not yet, it's loading. Yes, can see it now.
Okay, so before we really get into the next pillar, right? I would like to you guys to imagine one of the stories, right? So in every team, right, we try to bring a new resource. Now the new resource might be very brilliant, right? He might be consistent, or, he works tirelessly, never makes an excuse, never needs a break, and he performs the task. Now that's where we say, we are bringing an agent into the team. Like let's try to relate it like that. Now, once we have this new person who works tirelessly, right, onto the task that we are giving him or her, right, we want them to learn new things as well, right? So they are doing the job, but that's where we want them to improve on what they have really done, or what they are really doing, right? And that's where the next pillar comes into picture, which is nothing but continuous improvement, right? So we have an agent now, it works. We have seen it like out of 10 times, 9 times it works, but how we can, improve it. The same thing we normally do in RPA as well, right? We have a process, it caters to, say, example, 5 of the business scenarios that we have captured. But the business comes and says, oh, we want another scenario to come into our RPA automation, right? Similarly, it works for the agent as well, right? When we talk about continuous improvement, especially, right, we are changing the landscape of agentic process automation from being a tool to a living system, right? So, no, a living system keeps on learning, and that's how we want our agentic process to be, because we have agents into it, and that agents has the capability to learn from what they have already done. I'll simply say, it's not a continuous improvement that we are talking about. It's more about talking about evolution, right? We are trying to evolve the process to, do things in a more strategic manner. Now, when we talk about, we can always fix the issue with the help of supported monitoring, which Mahesh has already covered, right? But, why we need continuous improvement as one of the pillars when we talk about agentic automation, right? So first and foremost thing, right? We develop the solution. We have agents who works, but can we put some kind of feedback back into it so that it can improve? The second one is like, can we be more proactive instead of reactive, right? So we are fixing the issues, but can we do something which can never return? The next one is like, bring guardrails. Now we are talking a lot about guardrails over here, because we all know agents are using LLM internally, right? Uh, the most important thing is like putting the guardrails in place in a controlled manner, right? So that it doesn't allow agents to hallucinate. And we want that thing to be a part of continuous improvement as well. The next one is like how I can adapt to a fast changing environment, right? So a business process has multiple flavors to it, right? And not everything can be covered during the build phase. Now we slowly get to know during supported monitoring, or this is one of the new scenarios that we have not covered during the build phase, what we can do. Uh, so that is again one of the important factors. Like the scenarios are changing. Maybe there are new processes or new scenarios which are falling into the business. How we can allow our agent to adapt to those situations. Then yeah, human feedback is gold. So we always say like as a as a governing factor from our end is like, you have robots, you do have agents, and then you always have humans who are doing the oversight for the complete end-to-end workflow, right? So what kind of a human feedback you can give back as part of continuous improvement is also important over here. And then align to the evolution with business outcomes and not just the accuracy, right? So with RPA, we focus mostly on accuracy, right? It has to work from step 1 to step 10 without any issues. But when we talk about agents, right, we need to focus on the business outcomes, right? So there might be a new scenario. We don't want the agent to fail, but we really want agent to adapt to that business scenario and provide an outcome out of it. And that is the reason we are talking about agentic automation now. With that, right, now we all know an agent provides a signal, right? So I normally use the word signal instead of providing an output, right? So agent provides a signal as an outcome, right? Now that it can be various different kind of signals an agent can provide, because it's making an LLM call. It might give us what we really need. It might give us something which we really don't need. The important thing over here is like, how should we capture that signal which is coming out from the agent, right? How do we analyze it? And how do we test that signal? Like can that be a part of improvement into my overall journey or overall process execution? And how I can use that, improve my agent prompt, or using a separate model, and then release it back safely, right? So what we really need to consider when it comes to analyzing the agent signals, one is like, it has to be controlled in nature, right? We don't want it to provide different signals. It has to be audited as well, you know something which we can audit, right? Okay, this is what we have factored in as a signal, and then this is how we are going to audit for it. It has to be deliberate. Like it has to be safe. Like we don't want to take something which is not safe in nature, right? We really don't want an impact to the business processes, and then it should be traceable, right? So if we consider like this kind of a signal, which is controlled, which is audited, which is deliberate, and which is safe along with traceability, right? That's what we can think. Okay, this might be one of the things we can consider when we talk about continuous improvement. Now, we know what we have as an input, how we can achieve, like how we can implement it into our continuous improvement workflow. Now, that's where the process comes into picture, right? So we know the signal. We got the signals from monitoring logs. We collect the rationale, the confidence scores. If we have any kind of a human also in the loop, right, with the process, we collect all those data with us. We analyze and prioritize. Now, this is most important thing over here, right? We really don't want to touch a process where we don't see an impact, right? We can always take into consideration, but think about if you have 100 of agentic process in production and you want to do a continuous improvement in all of them, it's not possible, right? Practically it's not possible. So we have to see what is the volume we are looking at and what is the priority from the business side of it. Then we have the signal. It's more about experimenting it, right? So we change the prompts. We take the feedback from the humans accordingly. If you have to change a model, we perform A to B testing with different validation sets, and we experiment to see if the agent can be improved with what he is processing at the moment, right? The next one is like validate and govern. Now we are trying to bring some change into the system with continuous improvement, right? We need to provide proper kind of governance, and we need to provide sign-ups from the business stakeholders. Like this is what we are trying to do within this agentic process or with this agent. Then it's more about again deploy it and remonitor it, right? That's where Mahesh has already captured. Like we have to keep on monitoring it after deployment. When we really talk about continuous improvement, everything comes with a risk, and then we need to look for the mitigations as well, right? The most important thing when we talk about continuous improvement risk, right, is like, are we trying to fit or overfit the data that has been captured as a part of human feedback? Now we need to be very careful if we overfit the data within our continuous improvement life cycle, right? So we have to maintain the right set of validation sets, and we have to cross validate whatever data we are going to use out of it. Then the next one which comes as a risk is if you have scenarios which we have not seen, we should not bring those things as part of continuous improvements. Uh, don't speculate things which have not happened. It's more about whatever has happened, bring those scenarios on you as a part of continuous improvement. Then again, another one is like we always think like with a part of continuous improvement, we can trace everything, we can audit everything, but sometimes we miss things to be done. So ensure we have proper version controls, documentations, and rational logging with whatever improvement you are trying to bring over here. The last one is nothing but stakeholder trust erosion. So everyone thinks like, oh, this is working. Why do I want to change this? Now that's where you need to have transparent communication, like what kind of a change you are bringing with this improvement. You are not going to roll out everything in one go. It is going to be a gradual rollout that you can do, and then yeah, you are putting the human oversight on top of it, right? So this is what you need to factor in when we talk about continuous improvement. Any questions? I cannot see the chat, so if anyone has any thoughts, any questions, feel free to put on the chat. You can unmute also. Happy to have a conversation around this. Nope.
Go ahead, Prish. There are questions in the chat.
There are no questions, Mish. That's what I heard. Okay. So moving on to the next one, right? Which is again an important pillar because as I told in the past, we have done the POCs. Currently, we are doing pilot, and we are thinking about how we are going to support and monitor. Now we touched upon we can bring improvements in the existing solutions that we have put in production, right? but how should we scale it, right? So the next pillar that we are trying to cover over here is like scaling the agentic process. So, most of the might have 4 or 5 solutions at the moment, right? But how to make those 5 solutions into 500 agentic automations is what the challenge we are looking at, right? With an RPA, we already have the clarity. We get a task, we get a process which is rule based. We automate it and we keep on automating it. So it's an easier task to convert it, an organization which has only 10 RPA automations to 100 RPA automations. But when we talk about agentic processes, it's not that simple. So, what we can do on that side, right? How should we scale is the big question, right? The first and foremost thing is like we need to think about a strategy, like what kind of a strategy we are going to put in place when we have to think about scaling. The first thing and foremost thing is agentic scaling is not RPA scaling. RPA is more about, we are automating something which is rule based and we can always scale because we know what is going to happen. But agentic scaling is something which is, we are trying to scale up the intelligence. We are trying to scale the decisions, right? We are trying to use more models. And then we have to think about scaling the governance also on top of it, right? The next one is we need to think about infrastructure as well, right? So we do have agents which are using infrastructure, right? So we need to ensure we have sufficient infrastructure when it comes to scaling an agentic process. The next one is governance that we have touched upon, right? We need to have a strong versioning, compliance, and audit control. So, for 5 processes, it might be easier to do governance around it. But when we talk about hundreds of processes, right, we need to ensure every process has some kind of a governance in place. And, maybe there are specific things which might need to come into those agentic solutions, right? So we need to think about governance as well. Then right process selection. Now, this point I really like when we talk about scaling, right? So, and you might have seen this thing, right? With agentic solution in place, we all go and try dig out of the use cases which might be a good fit for agentic process automation, right? Uh, However, I see the thing as another way around, right? I see you have a problem. Is agentic the solution for it? So start thinking differently, and you'll see. Okay, now my thought process is not finding use cases for agentic, but my thought process is like finding the challenges in the process, right? It's more about digging deeper into the process and then trying to figure out what will be the right solution for it. The next one is like, yeah, we have to evolve the COE roles also, right? When we have to talk about scaling, right? Now, with a small team doing 2 or 3 agentic use cases, it might be, very small COE teams uh, that we have in line, right? But when we talk about scaling, we need to ensure we need to evolve our COEs. So we need to include the agent engineers, the model governors, and the prompt architects also in a single COE team. Then change management also is something which we need to align on, right? So when we talk about scaling, change manager again plays a crucial role, right? If we don't communicate, if we don't align, if we don't keep things ready, it can lead to a problem when we talk about scaling. And the last one is nothing but the UiPath framework. So, I'm not sure if many of you might have heard about automation operating model, right? Which was a 7-pillar model. We are trying to bring a similar kind of a model for agentic automation operating model, right? So we can always use that framework to scale our agentic solution. Now, we have seen like, what is needed when we think about scaling it. What could be the best practices around it, right? So when we talk about scaling, the most important thing that we need to keep in mind is like we are giving the clear decision gates, right? We need to follow a process of having different gates when we try and go for scaling the agentic solution, right? So, when I talk about gates, it's more about you can say you have to define a process, and that process needs to follow for each and every agentic process, right? And the process required sufficient kind of approvals in place before we really take it to life. The second one is like start with low risk domains, right? Now, organization, most of the organizations which I have seen in my experience, they don't want to touch their high volume processes or their critical processes, right, in line. So you can start with the low risk domains, you know, go into each of the domains, try and figure out what could be the easy wins, and then secure the buy-in from the stakeholders. Then the next important thing when we talk about scaling is like modular agent design. So currently we are all building the agents, right? And we are like trying to fit that agent into our agentic orchestration. But we need to start thinking about using the logic or reusing the logic. So reusability, even in RPA, we do a lot of reusability using object repositories, custom libraries, all those things. So we have to start thinking into the agentic world how we can reuse the logic, prompts, and workflows across domains. The next one is orchestration frameworks, right? So always keep the room for fallback path, and that's what I always say, right? Put the human in the loop so that if something goes wrong, if agent starts hallucinating, right, we do have a human to provide an oversight onto that. The next one again, cross domain COEs, which I've touched upon earlier as well, right? Bring your RPA, ML, AI, business expertise all together into a cross domain COE. Clear KPIs, right? Now when we talk about scaling, and I think someone has asked, like, what we need to consider as well whenever we go and dig into an agentic process, right, in terms of pipelining it. I'm just, touching what we have covered in the first session in a brief over here because this is the last session. We need to keep in mind what is the ROI we are going to get. No, we should not think like, okay, I have an RPA process, I have a human in the loop, let's convert that thing into an agentic process, right? No, that is not the right way of thinking when you talk about scaling an agentic automation. You have to think about the ROI. Like, if I bring an agent into this process, what kind of returns I'm giving back to the business? What are the cost savings they are doing? So, how much human effort they are going to save, right? So, think about all those things when we talk about scaling an agentic solution. And the last one is nothing but a change management, right? So, we need to align, do the training, bring the communication in place, and keep people ready to adopt to this solution. Again, talking about risk and mitigations, when we talk about scaling, we don't want to overlap a lot of logic between agents. We really don't want that, right? So, enforced reusability is the mitigation that we can look at, like build common libraries, agent catalogs. You all know, right? When we think about agentic solutions, you can call different agents from that agentic orchestration that we have built in Maestro, right? So, think about if an agent can be reused across different business processes, right? It might be doing the same job, but can I reuse it? Is the key to it. Then infrastructure, we touched upon that, right? You need to ensure from day one we are using either cloud or we do have some kind of an auto scaling in place when it comes to infrastructure. The next one is like governance, right? Now governance, we all know, right? We have to go to AI boards, get the approval. Now that is the uh, biggest challenge, which can slow up things. But if you go with a strategic where we have the right guardrails in place, which we demonstrate to the governance boards and get their buy-ins. So whenever you go and present a new agentic solution to them, they already know like you are following all the governance. You have a role-based access model in place, and it will be a much faster governance approval when we think about scaling. Organizational resistance is nothing but okay, we have this solution for two of the business areas, right? How we bring this to the next one, and we see a lot of resistance, like the people are not comfortable with agentic automation in place, right? So it was more about let's not talk about big processes, think about early wins. You train them, you educate them, and that's how they can get benefits out of this solution. And with that, you can really scale up this agentic process automation within the enterprise. Any questions from anyone? So I see a question over here from Karthik, right? If you couldn't see the scenario in the production environment, which we faced in a lower environment, how to handle it in production version? Like, if you have seen something in the lower environment, it means you have already corrected the prompt in that. For that, right? When you are building an agent, or maybe when you are building an agentic process out of it, right? So I see the scenario can be the other way around as well, right? For few scenarios, you might see something in lower environment, but it never comes in production. So you need to cater those things also as a part of continuous improvement, right? So something which you have not seen in production, it is happening in lower environments. Build the logic for it. Correct your prompt.
There's one question in the chat. Priyesh, some
Yeah,
minute. Let me go to it.
I think I have already answered for Karthik. Hope you can still
Uh,
hear me.
Yeah. Yes.
So how we can test it, right? So with agent, you can, feed in the data also, right? So in production, yeah, with the production data, you will not be able to test it because you don't have the data altogether. But you can have some kind of a dummy data, which within your production environment as well, and just for testing purpose and mark it correctly as a test only, right? Like it's the same way how we do it for RPA, right? So in RPA, we have a an application in a test environment, and then we have the similar application in production. We might not have the similar kind of a data in both the cases, right? But even though we end up testing it with some kind of a dummy data in production, right? So similarly, you can adopt for testing your agents as well. Any other questions? The floor is open. We have done with the session, so the floor is completely open. You can unmute. You can ask. How we can reuse the solution, right? So it was again more of a development bit. Sorry, I just got a question on the chat, so I'll answer that and then I'll take up your question. Just give me a minute.
Sure, Priyesh.
Yeah. So reuse the solution, right? Now, you might have all seen like in Studio Web, which is a unified view for us. Now we have started providing you something like a solution, and within that solution, you can have your agents, you can have your RPA workflows, you can have your apps also in it, right? But when you really deploy the solution, all these things goes and sits as separate components, right? So, say example, within my solution, I have two agents, right? I will have two packages for those agents in my orchestrator, which I can reuse in any of the existing processes. Okay, so before I take another question from the chat, Satish, go on.
Thanks, Priyesh, for the opportunity. So, Priyesh, when we started the coding and when UiPath coding was at its peak, we got a lot of templates. So, RE framework was one of the template that we standardize it. So, from
Mhm.
Agentic, is it something that we are aiming at right now, Priyesh? Something that can bring everyone under the same umbrella?
So we do have something called autopilot feature, Satish. I think you might have used it already, right? Which provides you some kind of a, quick uh, understanding or quick thing to generate system prompts and user prompts, right? So we
Correct.
brought an AI capability on it. When we talk about framework, right? Now every business process is different, right? And that's where we gave this BPM and option, right? Where you can define the process at a high level, right? Now
Okay.
to provide a framework for this, at the moment, I don't think so. It's possible to be honest because every process is different, right? Now,
True.
if you talk about order to cash, or maybe if you talk about something in manufacturing world, it might be a completely different thing, right?
Just to add on that, Satish, so we are talking here, I mean, we have framework for robots, but if you go to agent builder and you start building an agent, you will see there is a kind of framework already available. We are saying you put your system prompt here, your user prompt here, your tools here, your context here, variables in this side. So we are giving that framework where you can just specify these things. And what prompts need to put, is that prompt good enough? For that, you can leverage autopilot.
Sure, Mahesh. Thank you.
And it's still Agentic is still evolving.
So
We'll
you never
see
know.
over the time what type of use cases we are getting. Uh, we are thinking about vertical agents also, so maybe we can come up with the framework if related to the verticals. But it's as of now, it seems difficult to have a standard framework for which can fit in for across the industry.
Makes sense. Makes sense, Mahesh and Priyesh. Thank you.
So the next one I have on the chart for agent version or generally web studio version, is there a CI/CD or can it be connected to Git?
Not so sure. I haven't explored that with
Yeah.
Studio Web. Priyesh, so Kaira, we can check and get back to you on that. We'll find if you can connect with us either on LinkedIn, or if you have access to UiPath support, you can raise a ticket with support team for this. Anyone from UiPath who knows about this? If we can connect CI/CD or let's say Git, or any versioning tool with Studio Web.
So right now, not Mahesh, but there is the JIT integration is part of the roadmap. Should come early next year, is what I've heard of.
Thank you,
Thanks,
sir.
Srish.
Any other questions? Any thoughts? You can feel free to unmute yourself, provide your thoughts. Like, the floor is open. We still have another 14 minutes before we end the session. So if anyone has anything, their experiences.
If you have missed any question from the chat, please either unmute and ask, or if you are too shy to ask, you can can you please repost that? Can I get link to join in WhatsApp group? Rohit, question for you.
Not sure. We still have Rohit. No, I don't think so. We have Rohit. What we will do, we'll ask Rohit to share the link over an email with all of you. And, with that, you can join the WhatsApp group as well.
And for recordings, you will get an email. These recordings will mostly become available after within 48 hours of the session. As soon as those will be available on the website, on the community page, you will get an alert or email. That's why we request that even if you will not be able to attend the session, just subscribe for it so that you get email about the recordings.
Okay. I think if there are no other questions, we are good to close the session, Mahesh.
Yes.
Thank
Okay.
you, all of
Thank you,
for your-
everyone. It was a great session, we can say. Thank you for all the suggestions, questions. Have a great day ahead.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
We'll restart the next series.